Hey everybody, welcome to the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream. I am your host, Mr. Kurt Wuckert Jr. Before anybody says anything, I have a black eye. Okay, I am a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, competitor. Actually, I haven't been a competitor in some years, but I used to compete quite a bit. But I got kicked in the face, and it's all a little goofy. So I got kicked in the face last, I think it was Wednesday night now. So we're on the way back, but it's a little rough looking. It was a lot rougher looking the other day. So, but I'm doing okay. Thank you for your prayers, everybody. We are going to do a couple things today. After you like, subscribe, and hit the alert bell. That's right. Every time you like, subscribe, or hit the alert bell, it lets our technocratic overlords know that you do indeed wish to spend your hour with me on Tuesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern time. What is the shoot? What is that movie from? They really like. It's what is her name? Shoot, it's right there. It's right there. I can picture her. She won her Academy Award, and she's like telling the audience, "You love me. You really love me." Somebody help me out, please. It's famous faux pas from 40 years ago. So, all right, we are going to take a moment here. So tell your friends we are indeed live, and we are both rocking and or rolling from sunny South Florida. In fact, it has been rainy South Florida for most of the last few days. We have entered the rainy season, and it is going to continue to be rainy season for the foreseeable future. Sally Field, thank you, Mr. Producer. He let me know. Yes, Mohammed Jaffer, it is parodied in The Mask, but it is an actual thing that occurred. So you can watch Sally Field receive her Academy Award and give the most cringe response anyone has ever seen. Like narcissistic nonsense, and but also kind of funny. So today's show is going to be a little different. I am currently live. This is live right now. I am doing the show live. I am in my studio and broadcasting to you. But the interview that we did with Vinny Lingham, that occurred a few days ago, and we are going to show you the pre-recorded interview. It's about 25 minutes long. We're going to show it at some point in the middle of the show. But I'm going to go a little bit long here because I want you to realize, I want you to pre-plan, I want you to prepare yourselves for an Ask Me Anything show. I would like you to ask me anything. You can ask me anything you want, and I will answer your questions after the Vinny interview. The Vinerview, if you will. And it's going to be great. You're going to love it. It's going to be a tremendous show. Everybody says they love it. I don't know. I didn't say that, but they, that's what they're saying. And yes, it's going to be a good time. I do want to thank our sponsors, RockWallet, which is actually, now that I mentioned RockWallet, I've seen the rumor mill the last, 36 hours or something. The usual suspects are out there saying RockWallet's going to drop BSV. This is unequivocally not happening, okay? There's a few reasons why. A, they are specifically a BSV supporting company. They were founded on the premise that BSV needs a reliable wallet partner with exchanging and blah, blah, blah. So they put the company together for the sake of the BSV economy. Same thing with Orange Gateway, who's another one that gets this criticism like, they're just going to go away. And like, as if them going out of business was somehow a pre-planned insult to their customers. Like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to invest our own money. We're going to put our own work into getting people excited about this thing, and we're going to rug them because we want there to be discord in the BSV universe. So this is the level of conspiracy theory we're at now from the internal BSV rumor mill. I don't like it. It's not good. We're also seeing the same kind of nonsense really about a whole bunch of other things. Like there's that essentially everybody's rugging everybody, and then it's purposeful. And I see the same stuff coming from. It's like, here's what nChain's actually up to. Here's what BSV associations are. And it's like, that's fine. Like, you can have your criticisms. I think there is plenty of criticism to go around, especially historically, about companies like nChain or associations like the BSVA and all these other things. There are valid criticisms. By all means, validly criticize the things that deserve to be criticized. But to come up with all these reasons why this is a long tail conspiracy theory, some kind of humiliation ritual against the people that loved Bitcoin enough to follow it down its most difficult path. I think the problem for me is that we're all on this path together. Like, every one of us is committed, maybe to a fault, but committed to the idea that Satoshi Nakamoto just might have been right, and that his theory, Satoshi's vision, deserved to be tried in earnest. And there are people that have participated in that vision in various regards, at various levels, and with various amounts of investment. Like, some people written some nice articles, and some people spent a lot of time on Twitter, and other people have spent tens or hundreds of millions of dollars investing in infrastructure, startups, applications, media, etc. And so that's everyone from your Calvin Ayre, who's spent more money than anybody, for sure, but then lots of other firms, including hedge funds, people that came out of the woodwork because they thought Bitcoin was a good idea and invested their own time, money, reputations, etc., to invest in BSV. Both the vision, like the broad vision of like big block Bitcoin, but also BSV in particular, BSV startups, etc. And I get criticisms, and by all means, criticize me for the things that I say or do wrong, or how hideous I look on camera. That's all fine. Like, I'm a big boy. I don't mind being criticized. But when it comes from someone who purports to be an ally to this thing that we all care about, it just comes across as like, how could it not be internal subterfuge, right? Especially because we know that these things have happened. If you look at the history, the long tail history of platforms like Twitter, now X, that the people that have been involved in these things, they set up these long, broad campaigns in order to push political agendas, corporate espionage, and all kinds of other things. We've seen it in the Bitcoin space, we've seen it in big corporates, and we've seen it in big politics. And of course that's going to happen. We should absolutely expect that to happen. And so when somebody shows up and says, hey, I'm a big supporter, but I'm also an anonymous account, and I'm going to be your best friend for maybe 6 months, maybe 12 months, maybe 18 months, but then all of a sudden everything else is going on, like, it becomes this focus on criticism. That's the negativity. And and again, not just the negativity of like, hey, I really don't like this mining company, or this application, or this entrepreneur, or this investor. Like, fine. But when it turns into, okay, it's everything, and everything's a cabal, and it's really, frankly, it's exhausting. It's not helpful. And if you care about BSV, at the very least, like, look for something in the unity. Like, this is a debate tactic, or a negotiation tactic that I have learned over a career in doing business, is that even if you really, really dislike an idea or a person or a company, or you're trying to elicit really difficult change, that when you bring the criticism up, you always have to give your opponent a way out. Like, never back them all the way into a corner where they cannot save face and make their way back. So even if you hate the person, you should try to negotiate. You should try to criticize them in such a way where you say, hey, I understand why you're saying this. I don't understand why you're saying or doing this thing. I really don't like it, but I would like to assume that you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, and we're having a misunderstanding because of X, Y, and Z. I'd really like us to find some common ground in order to come back to, healthy accord with one another. And if you can apply that kind of thing to your to the way that you communicate with other people, especially in contentious subjects like politics, religion, corporate espionage, or Bitcoin, we'd all be better for it. So I don't want to talk down at anybody, but the criticisms that I receive and the criticisms that I see other people receive, again, a lot of them are half true. A lot of them have, especially historically, you can look back and say, yeah, sure, from 2019 to 2021, like, this was a really big misstep. But I don't think these things are malicious. But when we treat them like they were malicious or calculatedly malicious, it just doesn't help. There's no way back from that position. So, I've recently been posting quite a bit more lately that if you have an anon account that used to be your friend and now spends all their time criticizing you and the things that you believe in, just block them. because in all likelihood, they are an agent provocateur. And that is no good for anybody. It's not good for the mission. It's not good for you. And if you walk around with your cortisol levels rocking real high, that's just not good for you. It's not good for anybody. So take a deep breath, release the demons, and move on with your lives. So I'm going to pivot back to thanking our sponsors. RockWallet, you have been delightful. Thank you so much for your sponsorship of the show. Thank you for everything that you have done to help us continue to do these shows. And then I also want to thank the Otherworldly TCG folks who are very closely aligned and related to brainrotgames.com. Games ends in a Z. And I want to make an announcement. Next week, next Tuesday, we will be broadcasting from Boulder, Colorado, which is where the Otherworldly folks and the Brain Rot folks and all those people run their business. We will be at Shreddy's Tacos, a longtime BSV supporting business. And I will be on location. We're going to be doing a CoinGeek startup. Shoot, what's the name of it? I forget there is a very catchy name that Mr. Producer has come up with. Please let me know what the event is called. But it's so we're having venture capitalist Brad Feld is going to come out. He's one of the most successful venture capitalists of the last 20 years, primarily focused on tech. He has a lot of blockchain experience. CoinGeek Startup Spotlight. So we are hoping to bring out entrepreneurs, enterprises, and we want people to come meet each other, meet investors, and talk about the opportunity with truly scalable blockchain, scalable Bitcoin, Bitcoin SV, the BSV blockchain, whatever you want to call it. Brad is a very thoughtful investor, and he's got a lot of really interesting ideas about the culture of venture capital that I think has been missing. I think, venture capitalists often get called vulture capitalists for a lot of good reasons. And it's the fact that they are essentially just predatory. They're predatory to the people that they are investing in, and then they're trying to kick the can up the tree, and ultimately everybody wants to make their exit on Sequoia Capital and say, all right, we were successful, even if the business itself wasn't particularly successful. And Brad has a very different view of these things, wherein he likes to start with the sort of culture of, all right, what charities are we going to give to? What is the business going to elicit in change in the world, in its clientele, in its vendor relationships, etc.? How do we, not pure altruism, he's not some kind of lefty, hippie, commie nonsense kind of guy. It's more, okay, look, we are making money, and part of the making of money needs to be, okay, when the bottom line is dealt with, what is the next step and how are we helping people? I've had the privilege to have a preview of his new book, which I'm not going to be showing because I'm not sure I'm allowed to show it, and it's currently not on my desk, so I have lost it in my home, but I'm about halfway through the book. It's quite good, and I'm excited to share with that next week live from Boulder, Colorado, University of Colorado, with a few of my friends, including Brett Banfi and Miles and a few other folks that you may remember. One of them named Zach Wiener, who I also intend to record an interview with. It'll be Zach's first public appearance since his great dilemma of the last, it's been 9 months or something now. But Zach had a very serious health event, and for a good bit of time didn't look like he was going to make it. And Zach has made his way back to not only just miraculous that he is still kicking at all, but he is back in the grind, back in business, back working on BSV as a developer and an officer. And I will let him make his own announcements, but we will be recording, God willing, we'll be recording with Zach next week, and we'll debut it here on the CoinGeek Weekly Livestream for everybody. So I'm going to take a little breather. Again, thank you to RockWallet. Thank you to Otherworldly TCG. I am going to take a little sippy of my water here. And then you are going to watch the interview with Vinny Lingham. And then I will come back after the interview with Vinny Lingham. I imagine we'll have about 15 or 20 minutes where I can take some questions from the audience directly to me about anything Bitcoin related, or if you want to keep it spicy, by all means, make it spicy. I like the spicy questions, but let's do that. So on the count of 3, we will be right back. 1, 2, 3. Vinny Lingham, one of the OG people in the Bitcoin space that became the blockchain space, which has become the crypto nonsense economy, and now you're doing all kinds of other stuff. So, Vinny, how do you prefer to be called at this point? Like worldwide venture capitalist, or do you just want to be a carnivore now?
Executive producer of Animal, a documentary
Nice.
coming out on the 20th of June. It's about the carnivore diet, and yeah, I think it's digging into a lot of the lies we've been told by governments and big agriculture, and trying to convince people to eat cheap calories, which is generally grains and vegetables and shit like that. And the more you realize that, like, oh, this is all a big fugazi, and people are getting sick as a result of having persistently elevated insulin levels and plant toxicity and things like oxalates and etc. The more you realize, like, what else have we been lied to about? And it's a bit of an eye opener for me. And the funny thing is, I think there's a very high correlation between people in early Bitcoin guys and even a lot of the crypto community and the carnivore diet. For some reason, there's just this like, hey, let's go down to first principles and understand the truth around what we're being told to eat or what we're being encouraged to eat. So anyway, I'm on like a seed oil free microplastic diet. I eat fish from Seatopia, which is like farmed, but the fish are actually fed algae and not corn. Like, who wants to eat corn? It's not like it's a natural food stuff in that. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm down the health and wellness path, but I keep an eye on crypto. Still the one in there. I have a new crypto hedge fund called Praxos. Some of you might remember from Multicoin days, where I was a general partner in Multicoin, led the Solana round, etc. Multicoin is one of the big hedge funds out there and investment funds. And so I started a new crypto hedge fund a few months ago. It's it's a more boring fund. We just we think of crypto as a big casino, and we're going to be the house. So we just skim the top. Boring 30 to 40% a year returns, nothing crazy.
Sure.
But if Bitcoin doubles, we give you the same returns. If it goes down to zero, we'll give the same returns. So that's the game we play.
So what does that look like in practical terms? I mean, a lot of these firms now are doing a little bit the same thing. So you sort of have your Michael Saylor version of things, where it's just more leverage, more Bitcoin, more leverage, more Bitcoin, and then you have your sort of not multi-coin capital, but you're generically the people that are like, we'll invest in anything that looks like it'll pump. How do you build something that just wants to do 30-40% returns annually?
Well, that's the thing. Like, we look at it more as a treasury management solution. So the thing about crypto is there's always someone who wants to borrow coins so they can short the market or hedge out a position or whatever else.
Sure.
Regardless of which coin, there's always some SAF floating around or whatever. We stay with we stay with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and there's a lot of liquidity there, and so people are always borrowing coins to take short positions or long positions, and we basically are able to utilize the funding rates to and effectively arbitrage the funding rates between exchanges, etc. So that's the short version of what we do as a fund, and we can produce. We don't produce a huge return. It's like 10 basis points a day or 15 basis points a day, but over a year it's 30 to 40%. Yeah. And so we're just arbing out very, very small percentages, and it's we haven't had a single lost week since inception of the test fund, which was over a year and a half ago, I think. And now the main fund's up and running, and we don't have lost weeks at all. I mean, I think we've had only 4 lost days in
a year
and a half. Yeah, and then when we're talking a lot, we're talking like a 30 basis point loss. So it's not like we have a lot of principal risk.
Right. No, that's really interesting. I think a lot of people don't really understand where where the money comes from, like when you need a counterparty in a derivative trade, like these kind of things. Like people don't really understand where the money comes. Like what is a market maker is a big conversation for people that don't really know. So that's pretty cool. Are you guys running, like, do you have a big trading desk, or is it like four guys on laptops or something?
It's a small team, handful of guys, fully automated. So we have bots. We have, well, I wouldn't say fully automated, but like very automated. We have bots. We have my co-founder is a machine learning, so data scientist, one of the best I've ever come across.
Nice.
And so he knows how to do this stuff and how to run the back testing, etc. And we've been very successful at proving it out. I think, within the next 2 to 3 years, I think we may become one of the biggest, crypto hedge funds, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
It'll evolve, but we're just focusing on taking out the cream off the top. We don't want to get, and when we say we delta neutral, we take no market risk. So no matter what the market does, whether it's up 5% or down 30%, it doesn't matter to us. We're not taking risk. And so, basically, one of the reasons I built this is because I want a place where I can put money into, and that's part of the ideal behind building this company. It's because when you look at the bank and you're getting 4% or whatever, or 4 or 5%, or you have to buy bonds and take on risks on bonds, it doesn't make any sense. And when these crypto traders, when the volatility is high, they're paying 30, 50, 100% APRs to borrow for like 24 hours. Why shouldn't you get some of that? And that's what we do basically. We, the more volatility there is, the more money we make, because we're just basically helping them.
You're banking it. Sure, it's like short-term loans and that kind of thing.
Crypto
so
is
it's interesting.
Casino. Let's be frank. It's
No, for sure.
It's a big casino. A lot of gamblers, and they're willing to pay high fees to borrow money. And if someone's willing to take the other side of that and say, look, we won't take the directional risk, but we'll give you the coins as you need it, you can make money.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because this is what I've said for years now, is that if we don't use the disruptive features of the technology to do disruptive things, I was a big fan of Civic, for example, because it attempted to solve an identity problem in a way that, is a novel way that blockchains can do it.
And Civic's still doing it, by the way. We're still rolling out new features and new markets and stuff. So, we're still grinding away at Civic. I'm still the chairman there.
Interesting.
And most of the 2017 ICO era companies have disappeared, ran away with the funds. We've got 20 employees who've been paying salaries for 8 years plus now.
That's awesome.
And we just keep running, and we have people using it. We have millions of passes issued, and we are trying to make a difference in the crypto ecosystem.
Sure. Well, it's funny. There were only 2 ICOs that ever made any sense to me. One of them was Civic, because I've always thought identity on the blockchain made a whole lot of sense. The other one was Basic Attention Token and the whole Brave browser ecosystem. That struck me as a good use of the technology in a way that was not overtly scammy. It's like, oh, you're actually going to build a really good browser and you're going to pay people for ads using you. Like, all of that made sense. To me, both would have made more sense using Bitcoin, but in that era, it was very obvious Bitcoin was saying, we don't want your business.
That was the issue. So Civic was quite an interesting story. I mean, we started off building everything on Bitcoin. We've got pretty much all the patents on identity on Bitcoin locked down. We've got so many. I think we had like the broadest patent portfolio in identity on Bitcoin. And then we just couldn't make it work because of the transaction fees. It became ridiculous in 2017. We're like, we can't make this work. Eventually, obviously, the forks happened or whatever happened. We moved off it. We went to Ethereum, and then the Ethereum went to
and those fees got worse.
The fees are worse. At one stage, we were paying $500 to onboard a new user. We're like, this doesn't work. So that's where I got into Solana pretty early on, because I'm like, this is a cheap way of doing it, and it was available at the time. We moved on to Solana, and but now we work on multi chains. We just we got tired of moving from one chain to another. We'll just support whatever chain needs to run identity, and that's where
it's pragmatic. And I know a lot of old school Bitcoin maximalists that actually cared about the tech that have done the exact same thing and said, man, I had a business idea and I keep getting kicked around like my business is stupid, but I believe in my business, and ultimately it's just a toolbox. And
you can't fight Mr. Market. The market wants what the market wants.
No, that's the quote right there. I think that might be what we're calling the show. But so it's funny. I could go so many directions because I essentially agree with you fundamentally on so many things. I've always really liked your content. I've liked how you've been around for a super long time and you've never been that toxic guy, even with people calling you names that nobody should call anybody, and you never lose your cool. So I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
What do you think? I mean, is there a way back right now? Like this whole Bitcoin conference is going on right now. It's like they're all passing each other.
I didn't attend because I just think we're heading for another bubble bust cycle, and I don't want to be part of it. I mean, all these companies raising these treasury funds to buy Bitcoin. We're loading the Bitcoin ecosystem up with billions. It's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars worth of debt. Debt always comes due at some point, and when we hit another bubble bust cycle, it's going to unravel spectacularly. Now, I don't know how big the debt bubble gets with Bitcoin and these treasury companies, but man, this is going to be ugly. But who knows? It could be 3 years. It could be. I think it's probably 3 years. So there's probably a lot of gains to be had over the next 3 years in this cycle. But when it ends badly.
What do you? So it's funny because I think of a company like Strategy is what they're called now. I forever want to call them MicroStrategy, but they're the big one right now. They're the biggest, but I think at any time some way bigger firm could show up and just blow them out of the water and become the biggest firm if they decided to. But then we got all these firms that are now sort of taking the same playbook. I had a company in Hong Kong doing the same thing. We're a Bitcoin treasury company. They stole the logo of of some stuff that I invested in, and like, oh, okay, like now we got this happening. Or we have Jack Mallers, and we have a bunch of people that are trying to do the same business model. They're all competing to take out the most debt and buy the most BTC. Allegedly,
you got a shitty business and a shitty business model, and you're trying to like survive or do something with it. Just become a Bitcoin treasury business. I mean, it worked for Saylor. I mean, Cognos is basically screwed. Like the whole of MicroStrategy software, that whole business is basically dead. And he built a shitty business that didn't survive through the decades. I don't know, they kind of hobbled along. But they're now a Bitcoin treasury business, and he took a failing company, he made something out of it. And you know what? It's a blueprint. Like lots of other failing companies, zombie companies out there can't survive on 5% interest rates or 7% interest rates. Bitcoin treasury sounds great until it doesn't, right? It's going to work until it doesn't. My guess is, I'm skeptical of it from the beginning, but I can see a world where we have 200-300 of these companies just, loading up on debt and buying Bitcoin and issuing their stock at 3 times the value of Bitcoin. And the market can tolerate it for a while. And maybe it grows and it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and Bitcoin goes up to $500,000, $1 million a coin. But at some point, there's a reckoning and there's going to be a crash. And we've seen this play out many times. But again, trying to predict it is not, I'm not in the job of predicting when the market's going to become rational.
Sure. What do you think? So, I mean, when you have a big drawdown, and we know that they're going to come, what does it look like? Is it like your small and mid-sized firms, they all go bankrupt on the same week? And, the 5 biggest firms that are doing it, they survive? Like, what do you think that it might look like?
I don't know. It's going to be some sort of a discount to NAV. These companies trade at, but that's Saylor can trade at a discount to NAV for the next 3 years. But when the debt instruments start racking up and he can't get cash out of the system, he has to sell Bitcoin. The market's going to start. Bitcoin price will start going down because of that, right? So you're going to have this like the dive in the price below his average cost, and then he's not going to want to sell. But now he's in debt and he can't raise more debt because he's underwater. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I mean, we should just keep this recording because it's going to happen and we can play it back.
This is going to make a good highlight someday, I think.
Yeah, it's 2025. But when it actually eventually happens, I don't know. I mean, like I don't know. Who knows? I've always thought that bubbles, have to get bigger before they burst, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of like the tradfication of the blockchain economy, anyways, right? Like we've essentially disrupted very, very little, and now everything's kind of come full circle to. Everybody speaking at Bitcoin conference is a politician or some TradFi guy, or they're throwing a suit on Ross Ulbricht, I guess, and they're going to get him up there. But ultimately, it's like the Bitcoiners have failed to disrupt, and now they're all trying to sort of join the new generation of, hey, we're kind of like Wall Street, and here's the opportunity.
Well, they have managed to disrupt somewhat, like they're disrupting the sort of. There's a lot of mind share for Bitcoin as a store of value. Let's not like play that down. Enough people believe it that that maybe they will it into reality. I speak to tons of bankers and CEOs, and whatever, and they're like adding Bitcoin to the balance sheet. They're looking at how governments around the world are now looking to add Bitcoin into the Treasury. So maybe they've stumbled across this like store value thing, which eventually works, but it only works if the price keeps going up. And the moment you have this massive crash where there's drawdown all these treasury companies, then people reevaluate it. But again, the timing, I don't know how long it's going to take. And I mean, I still have some Bitcoin, and I'm sitting on it, and so we'll see where it goes. But like long-term cold storage and some vault somewhere. But like, who knows? Maybe it's worth something, maybe it's not.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Do you think the way forward? I mean, so it sounds like we're talking about governments and big companies, and essentially it's a stock game playing leveraged Bitcoin plays, and you're in the hedge fund space just providing like, hey man, I'm going to help people gamble, we're going to stay conservative here. Is there a big move or a big thing or some big excitement? Like, does anything make you excited about the space, or is this why you've largely pivoted out and you're looking at the boring part of that for cash flow and working on your carnivore stuff? I'd be happy to talk about why strict carnivore too, if you want to change subjects on me.
No, I'm happy to keep going. I mean, I think that I think the entire crypto space has become very toxic.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of people who have no business being in it that are in it, and they're making money. And but like I'm a cynic because I just don't think that there's enough value that's been created in crypto to justify the total crypto market cap. It's just a big casino. I mean, there are obviously some chains and there's some products that are okay, but like we're talking like $3 trillion worth of market cap. The only thing, I mean, Bitcoin obviously carries the ecosystem right now, and maybe Ethereum and Solana with transactions that get done on blockchains. Look, Solana is great. I mean, it's super fast. It gets the job done. No obvious flaws in it right now. It's super cheap. It's the whole cheapness thing is like, when you're building a blockchain like Solana, you want it to be cheap enough that people can pay a fee that doesn't affect, like no brainer. Like this may be on the BSV side. Like one of the criticisms I have on BSV is like, well, why make it so cheap that there's not enough revenue even with like a large volume of transactions? I don't get.
It is a balance thing for sure.
Yeah, I think the balance is not correct. I mean, I think if you're going to be offering 1 million transactions per second, make it worth something for the miners. Like, make it worth more than the fees on Bitcoin. And so, does it have to be 1,000th or 1/10,000th of a cent? No. People will pay a penny. They'll pay even 1/10 of a penny for a transaction. Or I just don't see the point. Maybe in the future, when people are using it at scale.
At scale. No, I agree completely. I've had this conversation with some of the wallet providers and stuff. It's like, guys, just set your minimum fee, set your base fee at like 1/10 of a penny instead of a 10,000th, because the 10,000th really is, that's like IoT stuff, which is cool, but it's not happening. And
it's not happening. Yeah. So anyway, so I think that like, there's also so many different flavors of blockchain out there. Everything doing something slightly different. Does it really matter? No. The only thing that really matters is uptime and speed and cost. Like, and to that point, like, everyone goes, Solana's always down. Solana's had like one downtime day in like 3 years now. So it's really gotten past this 2020.
Well, that was going to be my question. Like, is there that concern that Solana, every time it makes a new scaling record, it usually is, roughly around the time it has a downtime. So is that something that concerns you, or does it just not even matter at this point?
People like the internet has downtime, and we still keep going. I don't think things are like have to. It's not like transactions get lost or money gets lost. It just this doesn't process, and it has to go through on the next block or whatever. So I don't know. I think that Solana is pretty powerful right now, and I think it's gonna flip Ethereum within the next.
Yeah. It's certainly got momentum. I think a lot of influencers, a lot of people that are just tired of Ethereum's nonsense, have said, "Well, okay, goodbye." So
I mean, I was never an Ethereum fan, and so I didn't buy Ethereum at like 5 cents like everyone else. I was like, I was all in on Bitcoin at that point. I'm like, and then I kind of learned my lesson with Ethereum, I guess, with over the years is like, well, the same thing I'm saying about Bitcoin right now. Like, I think the bubble can get a lot bigger. Maybe it goes to $1 million a coin. Maybe it gets whatever, and then there's a bubble bust cycle. But you should probably stay in it to ride it up, not
Sure.
try and time it.
Yeah.
And then when you made enough, get out. Don't be greedy.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think look, I'm a utilitarian. I like utility. I like building products. I like building things that people need and use, and I've built companies my whole life. I didn't make my money in crypto initially, right? I made it on being an entrepreneur and building businesses. I built an ad tech company. I built a SaaS company. I built a mobile payments company. So a lot of people have made all their money. They've only known how to make money in crypto because they were 21 years old when they started doing it, and now they're 30-something years old, and they don't know how to make money in the real world. They just want to make money in crypto, and that's fine. But I think at the end of the day, all the speculation ends when we actually get to the point where utility matters. And right now, I think that the global monetary policy is just too loose still.
Oh, for sure.
And that's why we're able to have these sort of weird cycles. Anyway, I'm like a crypto cynic, I guess, at this point. I've become pretty cynical about the space.
You are.
But I think there's going to be some winners. I mean, I think there'll be some big winners. But I think, and I've said this before, like 99.99% of all this stuff in crypto is junk. It just is. You probably find there's probably 20 to 50 protocols and companies, that are worth anything. Like with the exception, obviously, of exchanges, there's hundreds of exchanges and whatever else. But like, if you think about it, that's where all the value in crypto lies right now. All the big companies are exchanges. And trading firms. It's all like you basically have this big casino, and everyone's providing services to the casinos.
Yep. No, for sure. No, I've said the same thing for a long time. I don't think it's a negative thing to say you're a cynic. I think crypto in general has way too many cheerleaders, people who are either just super foolish or they're very dishonest. And it's good to have people. I've always been something of a critic too. I understand the technology. I actually own an infrastructure company in the space, and I look at it and say, guys, that's just not how this works. And
the best tech doesn't always win. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, a lot of I see this from the BSV community a lot. It's like, oh, the best tech, is going to win and win all. I'm like, no, you need adoption. You need people who care about it.
Customers.
You need customers. Like, the best tech doesn't always win. I mean, I remember the days of VHS and Betamax, Blu-ray and what's the other one? DVD.
HD DVD, yeah.
HD, yeah. Like, like the best tech doesn't always win. And so I think what Solana's done really well is build a really strong community of probably millions of people, including developers who want to use it and want to build on it. And that's what needs to happen in any chain that wants to get there. And I think that's a little bit more important.
For sure. Vinny, I could probably talk to you for 2 or 3 hours about a whole bunch of things, but do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to leave the world with? Like, where can we find you? What do you care about that you want people paying attention to over the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, over the next 2 months, so probably 2 months, is like, if you guys can download, it'll be on Apple and Amazon and all those places on the 20th of June. Download Animal, watch it, rate it, be honest. Hopefully get lots of good ratings. It's been a passion project for over a year and a half now, and the documentary is great. You can find me on X at Vinny Lingham, and I'd love to get feedback on it. I'm about to post the trade on X now as well. So
good stuff. Vinny, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. I will be watching. I'm something of a health nut myself. I'm not totally carnivore. I do like my fruit, and I eat carbs on my heavy lifting days, but I live keto on any day that I'm resting. So it's the same thing. I get a lot of ribeyes in the fridge and try to eat really good fish and that kind of thing too.
I kind of do that. I do berries and yogurts as well. As part of the diet, but not every day. Like the past couple of days, I just got back from a trip to France where I obviously had a lot of cheese and wine, whatever else.
Yeah, you can't say no to that in France.
But I got back from there, and now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to just go hardcore carnivore. So all I'm eating is meat. I have these biltong bites, which is South African jerky. It's fantastic, and that's all I'm eating today, and then the rest of the week before I head off on my travels.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you, sir.
Good seeing you,
pleasure.
man.
Yep.
Pleasure. Cheers.
I was muted. Hey everybody, we are all the way back. Mr. Producer, I think you can physically unmute me from the producer's chair. So thank you. Yeah. So not the producer's fault. Okay. All right, it's my fault. It's entirely my fault. Hey, if we want to take questions, comments, blessings, cursings, gripes, or gropes, please put them in the troll box. Be very happy to take questions for the next 18 and a half minutes. So, Mr. Producer, please put up the best questions and the criticisms and all the other things. And so, Kurt, if you like Brave Browser for privacy, you will definitely like Pre-Search Privacy Search Engine. I haven't looked into it, never heard of it, so I will check that out. Mr. Producer, take note. Let's check that out. Maybe we can check that out and see if they want to sponsor the show. What else we got up there? While we queue up some of these questions, I just wanted to say, Vinny, it's funny. I wanted to let Vinny talk specifically because I think while I disagree with him on a number of things, he's an opportunist in the space. But he's made a tremendous amount of money both inside and outside the blockchain economy. And I think the real lesson is, again, like with Solana. Solana is ultimately not a scalable protocol. Solana is not a scalable network. Solana is deeply centralized in order to function at all. And yet it's been very, very successful in attracting users and business because it has such a robust developer ecosystem. So the developer outreach on Solana has been absolutely tremendous. And that's for two reasons. One of them is that you can just print Solana tokens out of nowhere. So the Solana, like quote unquote pre-mine, has afforded them lots and lots of capital to just give out to developers to have them come in and build things like pump.fun or whatever else. And so that's, part of why they were able to court developers so readily. But the real lesson, the big lesson there is that if we want something like BSV, if we want BSV specifically to be successful, we need to have more devs that are building more things, even if we don't like them. And like these kind of, so like Pump SV is a thing that's been marketing the last few weeks. It's like, well, what's Pump SV? Like, do we need a token tumbler? Do we need a bucket shop exchange for meme coins? And I would say, arguably that's not the greatest thing in the universe, but from a technology standpoint, it's good to bring in energy, capital, liquidity, excitement, and then ultimately the tooling for such a thing can be ported over to something like NASDAQ for all the people that just really, really want to, change the world by changing the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ or the London, whatever. And the thing is we can criticize things that are going on in Solana as much as we like, but the fact of the matter is the people that make these decisions, they're trading meme coins too. Like the president of the United States has a meme coin on Solana. And, as disappointing as that is, and truly, I find it revolting, but at the same time, we're not making the case for, enterprise and government very well if, when we say, hey, we're the enterprise and government blockchain, and then the actual government says, you know what, we're going to go over to this exchange that primarily pumps like, adult humor coins, dog coins, and, various other like there's a disconnect, right? The American government is literally run by a troll from the internet right now, and there's a lesson there. That lesson is have a little more fun, attract developers. I think attracting developers and applications, and then therefore people that want to use those applications. I think that's pretty obviously the path to success in getting people to bring liquidity to your blockchain. And then something like an asset as dumb as Solana ends up in the strategic national reserve of coins, which is just like blows my mind. But again, there's a lesson there. So let's bring up some more of these questions and we will bang through them. Kurt, what's the biggest difference, if any, between seafood in Chicago versus Miami? It depends on the context. So most actual seafood that you would eat in either city is going to be flown from wherever it's best. So if you get like mussels, for example, those mussels are going to come probably from the same place. If you're at a nice restaurant in Chicago or a nice restaurant in Miami, same like clams, like good clams are going to come from like the Chesapeake Bay, or good lobster is going to come from Maine in a lot of those circumstances. So if you're going to eat actual regional food, in Chicago, what you want to have is something like walleye or perch out of the Great Lakes or one of the rivers. And then if you want to eat real Florida food, you want to eat something like lionfish or grouper and some of those things that are actually local to those areas. Otherwise, it's funny. Like when I've had people come to the beach and be like, "Oh man, we're by the ocean. We should get some shrimp." And like, all right, well, if you don't get the Key West shrimp, you're definitely like they're not local shrimp. They're coming from some farm somewhere else. So that's the biggest difference there. Next one. How do you feel about what Vinny said about fees on BSV? Should they be raised? So it's funny that the should is the part that I'm going to struggle with right there. So if we're going to be real pedantic about should sure. I think fees, the average transaction fee should go up. The reason they are so low is that I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, it was decided amongst the node operators of the network, including myself, like if we are going to be courting high volume like IoT sorts of firms, we need to have fees that are very, very, very low. And the reason for that is we were actually pursuing contracts with these companies that wanted to put lots of data on chain. The problem is as that stuff kind of played out, they realized, okay, like we don't want to handle it that way. And then in the middle of testing, essentially people decided, maybe we don't want to use the blockchain for that in the first place. And so then it turns into, okay, we have lowered our fees now, but then the volume that should have come from it as replacement for the fact that if you lower your fees by another 99.99%, like you need whatever a 10,000x move in how many transactions actually occur on chain, and then that business didn't come. And so if a fee market is actually dynamic, then it should be treated that way. Like, hey, we need more money to survive. So among people that say like, it's just centrally planned, the node operate, and it's like, hey man, Gorilla Pool actually does charge separate fees for different things. But if you're like a wallet operator, like you got to look at where are transactions coming from. So like Handcash and Centbee, RockWallet, and all these people. Like, yeah, maybe they should raise their fees by 1,000x. It would still be less than a penny. It might be 1,000th of a penny instead of a 10,000th of a penny. But the kind of volume that is actually on chain, like that ended up being a much more significant chunk of revenue for people actually mining the chain. It'll attract more hash power, etc. So yeah, I don't see a reason why not. Now, if again your IoT style client, yeah, that should be a 10,000th of a penny or less, and whatever. I see Mark's follow up question about raising fees only takes miners agree. No, I mean we can change our setting right now. So if here's the issue, if we were to raise our fee, the issue is that if only Gorilla Pool raises the fee, it becomes a fee calculation issue, which raises our orphan risk. And the reason is our hash power is not significant enough to kind of bully the network into, hey, we want you to come this direction. So if, for example, we mine a block, we send it to Tal, we want Tal to build on our block, but our block is full of transactions that they're not seeing because we're only getting these higher fee transactions. They have to recalculate our block, which might be less profitable for them than it would be to simply just build their own block, orphan ours, and move on with their lives. So it raises the orphan risk of the pool, and doesn't actually give us any net benefit. I mean, like if we have an extra million transactions in a block that gave us an extra few thousand sats or something, like it's all so small that it makes sense to just kind of follow the market leader in that sense. But it would be good, in my opinion, to collectively treat it differently. So this really should be done at the wallet level. The wallets should say, hey, it's going to be 1,000 sats per kilobyte or whatever instead of 1 sat per kilobyte. And they raise their fees, the basic fee at the wallet level. Again, it would still be less than a penny. It'd still be imperceptible to the user, but it would be a tremendous change in volume for the miners mining the network. So yeah, it's definitely something that could be done. App developers can also set their fees to be higher. Exactly. Do it at the wallet level. The app and the wallet I'm using interchangeably there. Do the transaction fees go up in tandem with the token price? High token price equals high fee. Not necessarily. It should go backwards. The problem is we've already pushed it to the absolute floor. So if you push it to an absolute transaction minimum of 1 sat per transaction, then there's nowhere for it to go lower. So then you're giving no encouragement for more volume to show up. You actually want to raise it and say, hey, we will lower your price if you bring us more volume. It's like McDonald's saying, hey, if you buy 1 billion burgers a year, we can lower the price. And that's the economic balance at play. Aren't cheap fees what make BSV so great? it's one of the things that makes BSV great, but it really depends. Like, if you look at the average fee on BTC is probably 5 cents or 10 cents a transaction right now because there's no volume over there. So if BSV was less than a penny per transaction, that's still, from a perception standpoint, that's fantastic because most of us are not doing a million transactions a day, where that would be something like, oh shoot, I spent $1,000 in transaction fees on my million transactions. So if you're sending one transaction a day or 10 transactions a day, and your total spend for the day comes out to still less than a penny, that's still cheap. It's cheap for the user, right? Now, I understand if you're running an application and you're doing some kind of big data. So like CertaHash, for example, like I would be very happy to make a deal with them that they can send a million transactions for less than a penny. It's fine, totally fine. Does me no harm. But I think the other wallets should raise their fee level to support the network, and ultimately, it doesn't actually impact anyone in any significant way. So, yeah. Will Terranode Group support degen app? It doesn't matter if they do or not. They don't matter in that regard. So, build a casino, build a adult applicate, whatever. Like it is an open public network. um and again, like who gives a rat's ass if you get an endorsement from some corporation in London? Does that matter? It doesn't matter to me. I like those people, but it's the same thing. I can like the people that I work with and disagree with them about a whole host of things. It really doesn't impact because it is a public network. If the transaction is valid, it goes on chain. Done. Next question. What would Satoshi say? Probably set in stone for a reason. I'm not sure on the context exactly. The fees are not set in stone. The fees are an economic interest. So all fees are the product of economic negotiation. If there is supply and demand imbalance, or they seek to achieve balance. Right now, they've been fundamentally out of balance because like they've been encouraged to stay all the way at the floor, and so we have no negotiating chip to say like, hey, if you bring us more business, we'll lower your price. Like we literally can't lower the prices for a big client to come in. Like it's kind of like you're running a dollar store, but you don't have enough volume to run the dollar store. It's an economic imbalance that should be worked out by the people negotiating the price of business in real time. That's not something. It's not part of the protocol. The fee is something that is negotiated by economic actors. Next one. So, if miners have the power to raise fees, does that centralize power? No, because you can't raise fee. It's the same thing. It's like McDonald's can't charge $30 for a burger. Like you have the opportunity to go to Wendy's or Burger King or whatever else, right? Like if you like when you start to find the price at which people will no longer do business with you, that's when you've achieved real economic price discovery instead of centrally planned price discovery. So that's it's a good thing. I would hope that in the pursuit of finding the actual economically determined correct price for a transaction on the BSV blockchain, that's how that discovery is made, by some people essentially bidding it up until people say, "I'm sorry, we won't do business with you for that price," and then there you have it. You have discovered, we have participated in capitalism, perhaps for the first time. Could they raise fees on transactions they don't like to exclude them? Just asking. Yeah, it depends on why they don't like them. If they're not, quote unquote, not liked for some reason that is technical in nature, you could figure that out. Let me think about that. So you could do it based on the kind of scripts that are put into a transaction. So if there is like an nlock time that does something that you don't like, or if there is it runs some script that generates a smart contract that you don't like. But as for blocking like the type of data in the transaction, that would be a more difficult thing to do. You'd have to have a second layer that's reading like, hey, we don't want like these kind of pictures or these kind of videos to be pushed to the blockchain. That would be a little more difficult to do, because you would need to sort of have a global listening to everything in order to do such a thing. But that would not be it's feasible, or it's technically possible, but it's also technically implausible. So that's where I'll leave it. Airdrop $10 million to 10 million Africans with free wallets in a big media campaign. Hey, sure, let's do it. Who's donating the money? Let's bang it out. All right, we have about 3.5 minutes left. We need to do the comment of the day, and as we queue up the comment of the day, I'm also going to answer this question from Brett. Why is Bitcoin script not a general purpose language, and what protections does that provide for nodes who act as validators to ensure they don't end up running endless functions or entire programs? So it is sort of a general purpose language, but it is fed by transactions. So the transaction is the check on it running amok, essentially. So in Ethereum, you can have a script that kind of runs forever because Ethereum is just like one big computer. But Bitcoin has transactions as like these, for lack of a better term, checkpoints in the way that scripts are executed. And so it basically stops nodes from being spammed into doing work that they're not being paid to do. So it's a security measure, and again, like economics as security. It's a brilliant design, frankly. So let's bang out the comment of the day. We'll come right back and say goodbye. And if there's a really good question, maybe I'll take another really good question before we wrap it up. So comment of the day. We got private chat, checking private chat. All right. Do the transaction fees go up in tandem with the token price? High token price equals high fee. Yes and no. Shepard, please reach out on X to the @RealCoinGeek account and give them your Handcash handle. We will send you a full deck of cards courtesy of Otherworldly TCG, one of the grand sponsors of the show. So everybody, it has been a pleasure. I am Kurt Wuckert Jr. Thank you for spending your hour with me at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single Tuesday. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert bell, and let our digital overlords know that you wish to consume our content. It really means the world. Please patronize our sponsors. Please follow us on X, Instagram, and across social media, and all the rest. Everybody, thank you so much for spending your time. Be good to each other, because if we can't be good to each other, the rest of it really isn't worth doing in the first place. Everybody, thanks again. I'm Kurt Wuckert Jr. signing off until next week, where we will be live from Boulder, Colorado. I will see you then. Take care and goodbye.